Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from yourblackworld.com, and recently we put something up on one of our blogs called Naturally Moi, which is a blog for women. And the story that the blogger put up was an article about the growth rate of herpes infections in the black community. The Center for Disease Control claims that they claimed this 2 years ago, actually. So this is old news, but it's still relevant news, that 48% of African American women have herpes, according to their sample. Now, one of the things I noticed was that there was a lot of resistance. There were a lot of people who said, I'm tired of hearing you say bad things about black women, and these CDC people, they're not accurate. Their data is wrong. And someone even tried to tell me that the CDC had refuted the study, and I did research on that, and they had not. And so I thought that maybe there was an issue there in terms of our comfort in talking about sexuality and sort of what these results mean. So to talk about this issue, I wanted to bring in one of our editors and contributors, Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses, who runs the blog SuccessfulBlackWoman.com. She's an advocate for young women of color, women of color of all ages, in my opinion. And she also happens to be the reigning Mrs. Botswana, and she was third place in the Mrs. Earth competition. How are you today, Nomalanga?
I'm doing great, Boyce. How are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. Now, I have to ask you, I really felt bad, as a father of daughters and as a man who has a lot of respect for black women. I felt very bad about the fact that there were some black women who felt that by us reciting what the CDC said, that we were somehow attacking black women or saying that they are promiscuous or something like that. And that wasn't the case. Why do you think there was such an angry reaction to our simply releasing this information that was verified through statistical analysis?
Well, first of all, let me address the reaction, Boyce. You and I can agree that it honestly can be said that black women are attacked a lot, and to the point where sometimes when we're being given valuable information, we can still perceive that valuable information as, oh my goodness, here comes another attack. Being that I deal with African American women, black women from all around the world, and generally with women of color, that's something I come across a lot. They sometimes respond as if they're being attacked. And honestly, sadly, it's because, think about it, I don't know what one of the groups that have had their rights infringed upon a lot is women, okay? And then another group that have had their rights infringed upon a lot are black people. And us black women, lucky us, it's both. We're both women and we're black. So we do, bear a lot of, attacks and criticisms and so forth. So I do want to address, and I don't necessarily want to validate that we should always be reacting badly to people saying things about us, but I do want, not just you, but anybody to understand that sometimes the reaction is because it happens so much. But that being said, statistics are statistics, so you can't run away from the truth, and we can't bury our heads in the sand. And we do have to listen to the information. So that's where I stand with it. I obviously received the information. I thought it was shocking. I did know that the statistics were high, but I didn't know they were that high. But I didn't refute the information at the same time.
Well, my belief, and this is me sort of, speaking to women in a way that is not judgmental. It's in a way to say, look, I'm a scholar. My goal is to inform you and to share information with you because I do care. Also, I can tell you what happened was, I wrote a pretty piercing article that linked to that study. And I basically said that there's a denial issue in the black community when it comes to sexuality and STDs. And it's costing us, for some of us, it's costing us our lives. And, so I'm getting beat up left and right, and I'm used to it. I can take the punches, no big deal. But, I did get a message from a woman who she begged me to give her a call. And most of the time when people do that, I just don't have time. But it was a Friday night. I was bored. So I said, okay, sure. I'll give you a call. We talk for a few minutes because she said, I really need to talk to you because your article changed my life. And so I said, oh, okay, well, let's, hear the story. And what the woman told me was that she was sleeping with a man, and the man, they had sex and unprotected sex. And then she asked the man, she said, can we go get tested for STDs together? Because the man had said, when she asked him, well, so, have you been tested and all that? He said, yeah, I'm fine, and et cetera, et cetera. And she said as soon as she asked the man to go with her to the clinic, he stopped calling her. He stopped speaking to her. He wasn't returning her calls. He didn't want anything to do with her because she had chosen to empower herself by asking him to do something that most women don't ask him to do. And so, I talked to the woman for a while, and I think she was beating up on herself about it because she was, like a lot of black women, very devout. She also said that she'd been a virgin up until this point. Unbelievably, I think she was in her 30s, which that's another issue. But I know that I told her don't beat up on yourself, but this is the point I was getting at. It's the STD spread. It's not saying that when you say black women are infected, you're not saying that black women are promiscuous. What you're saying is that sometimes you can be a person who is not promiscuous, but still catch STDs by having sex with a promiscuous person. And so what happens, unfortunately, is that you have to go back and kind of look at men and really, reevaluate this culture. And I think it's spurred on by hip hop music, where every single song you hear on the radio is a man bragging about how many women he's sleeping with. So as a result, you see another study that basically shows that black men have far more sex partners than white guys do, throughout the course of their lifetime. We have 4 times more sex partners in our lifetime than black women do. So, unfortunately, if you have, say, for example, the good girl who likes the bad boy, well, guess what? Unfortunately, you may catch whatever infection the bad boy got while he was out being bad. And the other, really interesting thing about this is that I think you also have to put this back on the women and say, are you being as careful about your health as you should be? Are you asking the right questions? I think a lot of men get away with what they do because women don't really question what they're doing. And the other interesting thing, and I'll say this and I'm going to finish and let you get the last word, is that, and this is what was important too. When people were saying, oh, the CDC data is wrong, you're just hating on black women, et cetera, et cetera. I said, before you say all that, ask yourself, have you been tested? Not just for HIV, but have you been tested for every STD? Everybody talks about their HIV test, but nobody talks about getting tested for herpes, syphilis, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and all these other things that you can catch. Because guess what the CDC also said? They said 80% of the people who have herpes don't even know that they have it. So you could be sitting here saying, oh, that data is not true and that's just a lie. And you don't even know if you've got it or not. You don't know if your partner's got it or not. And so I think that when you really sort of add all that together, and then you compound that with the fact that, and I have to keep it real here, a lot of black men don't like to go to the doctor. There are a lot of guys I know I've seen who have slept with a lot of women and haven't been to the doctor since they were a newborn baby, since they came out of their mother's womb. That's the last time they went to the doctor. And so you end up with situations like the one in Philadelphia where a scientist went into a barbershop. He tested 20 men for chlamydia in an inner city barbershop. 11 of the 20 men had chlamydia and did not know that they had it because they'd never been tested for it. So we're in the middle of an epidemic here. It is going to affect men and women. And so when I cite this information, when we put that out there, we're not attacking black women and we're not really attacking black men. We're just saying we need to start talking about the truth. What say you, Nomalanga?
And I agree with you. I think sometimes, I obviously know you and I've been exposed to a lot of your things that you write and the videos that you put out. I do have the feeling that you write out of concern and the things that you say you share because you want to change people's lives for the better. I do have to say though, for me, because I speak to a lot of women, in fact I have, as you know, a course designed specifically for women, is I did have to search myself and find a way of relaying the information in a way that they can accept it. And that's with a solution-based approach. And it's been somewhat more successful than just saying, here's what's going on, and wow, we should all be scared or we should all go get tested. Because what it does is it just scares people, and then some people are even too scared to go get tested. But taking the conversation to the next level of once you get tested, this is what you can do. This is how you can protect yourself, because there's only really one way to be safe, and that's to be 100% celibate. And that's not necessarily realistic. So we have to assume that everybody has to get tested, and they have to do it at least every 6 months. And that's what I say to the women that I speak to. At least every 6 months you have to get tested, and you have to get tested for everything. And then the other thing is, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that sex shouldn't be a hobby. It should be something that should be taken seriously, and it should be something that should only be engaged in somebody that you care about and that cares about you. And if a person cares about you and you care about them, you want them tested, you want them tested, and you want yourself tested to make sure that they're being safe and you're being safe. So those two things: get tested regularly, and don't make a sport out of exchanging body fluids with people. Protect yourselves and engage in that activity with people that you actually have some level of care about. And if that were the case, then you do want to get tested, and you do want the other person to be tested too. Do you understand what I mean? Because then you want to protect them from whatever you have or might have caught along the way, and you want them not to give you something. And if they care about you, they'll care about that.
I agree. I mean, I don't think we're here to judge, how people conduct their sex lives, but sport. If sex is a hobby or a sport, it's a very dangerous, very expensive hobby or sport. I think that we have to get away from this notion that leads us to believe that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, as long as you wear a condom. Because let's be real. When people, and I even made reference to oral sex, most people aren't used to a scholar even referencing that. But I said, a lot of people don't protect themselves when they do that. And that's one way herpes can be transmitted, from oral herpes to genital herpes, So, I felt really weird talking about this, Noma. I felt as awkward bringing it up as I do right now, bringing that up with a married woman. But the fact is that I think that when we have these conversations about our health, we have to start being honest. And, and I know when I talk to my daughters about it, those are those crinkly, uncomfortable conversations, but I force myself through them because I'm saying to myself, they need to hear the truth and hear from a man's perspective and an adult's perspective, so they don't make critical mistakes later on. And I think that's what we all need to do. So including the church, and all the other places where we get together. So thank you for your insights, Noma. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Boyce. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you all for checking us out at yourblackworld.com. And thank you for tolerating us and tolerating me, especially. Noma's good. She has the woman's touch, and she's brilliant and smooth and everything else. Me, sometimes I can push the issue a little bit, a little bit too rough, but it's all well intended, I assure you. And I do it because I do care. And so everybody, this is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses. She is an editor and contributor at yourblackworld.com. She is also the reigning Mrs. Botswana, and she got third place in the Mrs. Earth competition. And she also runs the website successfulblackwoman.com. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.